Today's episode of the Know Your Gear podcast is brought to you by Patreon members, channel members, and viewers who like and subscribe. Thank you for making this possible. The Know Your Gear podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Know Your Gear podcast, episode 368. Hope everybody had a fantastic week and is ready to talk about some guitar stuff. We have a lot of guitar stuff to talk about today, and we'll get into that soon. So just first, as always, thank you guys so much if you're joining me live, and thank you for all the support when you guys do the streaming on the iTunes and iHeartRadio and Pandora and Spotify, and then of course on YouTube, you name it, however you're listening to it, however you're watching it. I appreciate it. Announcements, as always, there's not a whole lot of announcements, but a couple that are probably important. First is that I want to mention, I forgot to mention last week, we had a winner that won the Gretsch guitar. His name was John, and I mentioned that Zither Stands was kind enough to give him a stand, a KYG, a Know Your Gear stand that was not listed in the contest. So it's a bonus gift to him. But I forgot to mention, in fact, I forgot to mention a lot of stuff, so I'm going to go through the announcements, that the stand is exclusive to the winners. So if you enter a contest, we're going to be giving away some more guitars too. To win a guitar, you will get a Zither Know Your Gear limited edition stand that you can only get this way. So it's a pretty cool stand. I will share pictures on like Instagram and Facebook. It's a pretty cool stand. It's a multi different colors of wood kind of thing. It's really, really beautiful. And I think it's more expensive than the normal stands that we usually do. This ties me into the mistake I also made because I was just trying to get into the flow of the show last week. I forgot to mention that there's a Father's Day sale for us on the Blackstock pickups and where KYG's Zither Stands. I didn't mention it, but I want to thank a few of you just went, I guess, moseyed onto the site and found it and purchased it. I was going to take it down on Monday, and then I thought, well, wait a minute, a couple people found it and bought them. Maybe we should announce it next Friday. So this is a belated Father's Day sale. As you know, sometimes I'm not very good at mentioning to buy hats, shirts, swag, and stuff. Because I'm really more focused because this is 100% sponsored. The show is sponsored by patrons and channel members. I don't think promotionally a lot of times, because it's really nice to have sponsors that really I don't have to like push the stuff. But this is a discount for you guys. It's 20% off on the pickups and stuff. And if you go there and it shows out of stock, that's because that's what I assigned to sell. So I don't think we'll go out of stock, but I'm just saying, don't email me, don't let me know it's out of stock. It's there's only so many pickups we can do at a discount. You can imagine. Sean and I will stay very busy. What else? Thank the patrons and the channel members, and of course the moderators. You can see the moderators, they are in blue. They have a blue wrench. The channel members are in green, and the patron members are probably everywhere else. So, all right. That was the highlights of what I forgot last week. And other than a super chat from a couple weeks ago is now into the queue, and we'll do that today too. Let's hit some first early questions, early topics. This was the first one I saw. It said, "Hey Phil, wait, nope, that's from an email. Sorry. It did say, hey Phil though. This one, probably not in order, but I'll do it this one. Darren says, hey Phil, I have a Danelectoro 59, and he got it last week, and he cannot stop the volume and tone knobs from moving together as their way around this. So let's go ahead, pull up the Danelectoro 59. And Danelectoro 59, as you know, it's my favorite Danelectoro guitar. So I'm pulling up right now. Hopefully pull up the one that I think he's talking about. I don't think it'll matter which model I pull up as long as whether it's the anniversary or the NOS. What I really just want is a good picture of it. Okay, so I had the same problem, so let me share. So here it is. This is the guitar, and so what he's talking about is these are stacked. So you have a volume tone stack for each pickup. So it's kind of like a Les Paul, except for they're just right on top of each other. They also happen to be plastic. So part of the problem is when you go to turn the top one, it kind of turns the bottom one and vice versa. What I did with mine is I pulled off the top knobs and I took some 400 grit sandpaper and I just lightly sanded the bottoms of the top pickups just to take off any burrs or any kind of plastic that would be there. And then I probably just buffed them a little bit. You can do everything from steel wool, or if you have a buffing pad, you can use a buffing pad. I used a buffing wheel real fast to buff them, just so that there's nothing that kind of gets on top of them. And then I probably use some liquid silicone or some kind of lubricant. I have all kinds of lubricants. There's a silicone lubricant that I use quite often. That's pretty easy to apply, and literally just a little like this, and then just just around the tops. And I use rubber gloves. I use gloves. So anyways, I just do that, and once it's there, it's kind of gonna be fine. So that's what I would do. I also did it to the pick guard too. Smooth the bottom, took the bottom off and smooth them off too. My theory of why they do that is just because obviously when they make these guitars, they kind of punch out those plastic knobs, stick them together. You can also try to space them apart. Somebody in the comments is going to say, hey, just pull up the top knob a little bit so it doesn't catch. I tried that years ago, and what ends up happening is you'll eventually push it back down, and then you get the same problem. And you don't want that to happen. And when you're performing or doing anything in front of people, you don't want your equipment to fail when there's witnesses. So you basically, that's what I found worked for me. Smooth it out and then just lubricate it. And, that's what I did. And that would be, Valdez, all kinds of lubricants. Hey, look, every time I mention any kind of chemical on the internet, somebody's going to have an opinion about why it's the wrong kind of chemicals. I tend to always just tell you what I use because I find it's like practical for me to say, hey, look, this is what I've been using, use it too. But I've learned also, I don't want to kind of advise anymore on that stuff just because I kind of don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear that it's bad for somebody, it's bad for this. I get it. Like we all know, we all live in the same world. Okay, so we have another early riser question I saw was, maybe that was the only one I grabbed. Did I only grab one this time? Let me go back and look at the thing. I tried to grab a few people were just, 251 asked me if I've ever played or owned a bass 6. And you said you're a bass guy too, right? Yes, I have. I didn't keep it. It's not something I found a use for. It's like the same reason I don't own a baritone guitar. It's one of those, same reason I now currently don't own a 12-string, although I'm hoping to get a Danelectoro 12-string eventually. The 59. I want the 59 Danelectoro 12-string. That's what I want. So the reason is because I tend not to own things I don't use. And in my mind, if I was a studio musician and I was thinking of things like a catalog of inventory to have in case of a song comes up, maybe I'll need that. I've learned that I have a network of friends and sources that if I absolutely need something, when I need it, I can find it. But the reality is if I don't play things pretty much on the regular, they don't stick around. I really did enjoy that Rickenbacker 12-string. It just was not getting played, so I was like, it's got to go. You know what I mean? I didn't love the neck. It was a little too narrow for me, but the guitar sounded great. And in my head, it's like just looking at it's beautiful. Probably one of my favorite guitars next to the Gretsch to look at on the walls. But again, not using it, I just can't. It's as much as I want this to be all not a practical thing, it's a little bit my practical mind kicks in and says, maybe you should get something that you'll use more. And as you guys know, I only have so many spots for my personal guitars. Basically, I'm only going to own so many personal guitars. And so, if I want something new, something's got to go. And so I find the things, usually it's not that I like the least, it's that I use the least. And okay. Hold on a second. It's like... Okay, let's go to a cool question I got. I don't know if it's a cool question. It says, this one came in and says, hey, Phil, are there any headstocks and or logos that you just don't like, even if you like the actual guitar styles? I've been looking at Dunable guitars, and I love some of the body shapes, but I find the headstock and logo off-putting. It seems like all the creativity went into the rest of the guitar, and when they got to the headstock and logo, they were like, whatever. I'm reading this. Dunable, don't get mad at me. I'm sure. Okay, so whatever. It says whatever. He says, but To this day, I still love the old BC Rich Widow headstock. Now, funny enough, you would mention the Widow headstock. So here's my opinion on headstocks. I've given it in the past, but I'll kind of elaborate on something else that's probably maybe helpful for you. My lesson learned with headstocks was I would not play Strats because I thought the Fender headstock was ugly. I didn't like it. I was a product of the late 80s, early 90s, and at that time, there was headstocks like Jackson and Ibanez, and pointy headstocks kind of just look cool to me. It's like like a Lamborghini or something, really something really just exotic and cool. And so I wasn't really into these like more traditional style headstocks, so I thought they were ugly. And then when I got my first Strat, when I first owned my first Strat, I was 30 years old. I got my very first Strat. It was a Mexican Strat, and I absolutely fell in love with it. And was like, why didn't I own this before? This is what I need. And if you think about it now, that's what I pretty much play is a Strat style guitar, a Strat guitar. More so even than a super Strat, so to speak. And there's a couple other cases I have for that. I can tell you stories in the bass world where I had the same problem. I stayed away from certain instruments that had headstocks that I thought were not cool or designs are not cool, and now I absolutely love them. Case in point, the SG, the Gibson SG is one of my favorite guitars by design of all times. In comfort, feel, and sound, I just love SGs. And I don't ever mean to offend anybody, but I still don't love the way an SG looks. I don't like anything about the SG's looks. Nothing about it appeals to me in the shape. It just, I love the way it sounds and feels. It feels comfortable and sounds good. And, so that's what it is. So I understand what you're saying. The only headstock, like if I always pick on, what do I pick on? Let's pick a guitar. Since you picked on a guitar, but I'm going to get back to your BC Rich guitar and why loving a headstock is probably not the best idea. To me, I would say one of the ugliest headstocks out there is going to be a James Tyler headstock. So here's one at Wildwood. The James Tyler headstock, when I first saw this, I was immediately just like, I just didn't get it at all. In any way, shape, or form, and if you ever play one of those guitars, it's absolutely fantastic. And if that's the thing that holds you back, you'll be sorry because the guitar is fantastic. The thing that holds me back now is the price. I mean, if you saw that one was $7,000, $7,400 for that guitar, so pretty expensive. But let's, for fun, do this. Let's look up the BC Rich Widow headstock. And I know it's not about, some people are not going to think it's cool. Somebody's going to be like, oh. But talking about how you're probably a younger guy, maybe that's what it is. Let me pull this up, if you don't mind. Just looking for a picture here. It's not working. One more time. Images. Come on, somebody. Help me out here. Okay, here's a guitar. Come on, I just want the headstock. Okay, Okay, here is a BC Rich Widow headstock. Now, I like to point out, I just said I'm a product of the late 80s, early 90s. So therefore, to me, BC Rich is the pointy headstock, which I absolutely loved. When the Widow headstock came out, I absolutely hated it. But I had a perspective that was ruined for me. I have a friend, not Ralph, because I know you're going to think for the comment like this, it was Ralph. It wasn't Ralph, believe it or not. It was another friend who was very observant and had a keen eye for detail. The first time I ever saw the Widow headstock, I thought, oh, that's cool. I don't know if I like it as much as the old one. He says, well, I don't like it because it's a ball sack. And now, instead of looking at the horns, I just want you to look at the silhouette right here. I know this isn't vertical. Now, I know this is a PG-13 channel is what I try to keep it, and maybe that's still PG-13, especially on today's TV standards. But once you see that, you can't unsee that. I'm not trying to tell you that your headstock that you like is not cool. I'm trying to say that basically there's just no way around. I don't know what the cool headstock is. I've given up on thinking there is one, is what I'm basically trying to say. I don't really care anymore. If I was going to say, somebody says, this could go on. The 12-year-old humor will definitely pop out. Isn't it funny that things that are supposed to be PG-13 involve 12-year-old humor? Anyways, my point is that Very few headstocks that I've ever seen, I actually thought they were great. I find that most of them are just there. And, there's guitars I'm drawn to, but maybe it's just my perception because of the fact that most of the guitars I think are cool, I don't enjoy playing. All 80s guitars. I love the way 80s guitars look. Again, product of the youth. And I love them, but I do not like playing them. They don't sound a way I like. They don't play a certain way I like. I'm more ingrained with more traditional style instruments, the basic stuff. But so there you go. So it's an interesting thing. But to me, if I was going to pick on one headstock, because it's not, because you guys, I want to be fair and honest. The James Tyler guitars, that headstock looks like exactly what you described. They didn't even try, but they tried everywhere else it mattered. And I think that's what you'll discover with Dunable instruments is that where it matters, they're great. Where it doesn't matter is they're not. It's just how it goes, And I'm past. I'm way past a guitar, thinking a guitar is going to look cool, which therefore by the transitive properties makes me look cool. And I don't mean because I'm older now. I mean I gave up on that a long time ago. Funny enough, we're going to be talking about a weird guitar today for Guitar of the Week. I don't know if you guys know, Guitar of the Week is usually picked right before the show. I literally had 3 guitars for Guitar of the Week, and I was messing with all 3, and then the last minute one just poked out at me. It's like, that's one makes sense to go with. I'll go with it. So funny enough, like 30 minutes before the show, it was going to be a totally different guitar of Guitar of the Week than it is today. So I like to keep it fun. Okay. I like this. You know what I like today is my old screens back from YouTube. They had a different one, and now I like the new one again. I get to see people and stuff. Okay, let's go to some stuff Amanda's grabbing and sending me. Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate that. She sent me something from Jeremy. Says, "Hey Phil, have you had any experience with heat-treated pickups?" So heat-treated pickups, I've only heard of them. I've only heard of them through Music Man and through their marketing thing. Look, obviously, there is science behind heating and cooling metals and how you can strengthen metals, doing these kind of processes. I understand that, right? I get that for the most part. I watched, I think when they first came out, that became a subject that week. We talked about it. I saw Dylan Talks Tone talk about it. Interestingly enough, we don't talk on the regular or anything like that. And I think I believe we came to the same conclusion, which is sounds interesting, sounds cool. I have no reference of it. In other words, I don't know. So I finally ended up without any heavy experience of it, because really sometimes it's not about what you know about a product, it's about what you're interested in the product. I kind of came to the same conclusion I came to with TCI pickups from Paul Reed Smith, which is it's not interesting enough to me to learn about. If a company wanted to send me stuff and have me do some content with it, I mean it may be interesting there, but I'm not gonna pay funds to figure out if I like it or not. It seems to me more of a marketing thing than it is real product, but I don't know. So that's why I said, please don't think that I'm saying it's marketing. It just feels more like marketing than real product, right? It's kind of like when I review some odd product and somebody goes, it sounds like it's solving a problem that nobody has. That's a comment that comes up a lot. And I understand that feeling, by the way, that sentiment. And this kind of feels the same way. The thing about Music Man is a Music Man fan. I love the Access. I love the John Petrucci guitars, obviously. I like the Luke. I like so many of their guitars, and all the guitars I like have the Dimarzio pickups in it, and that's not because I'm friends with Dimarzio. It's just because those are the pickups I liked, and they've been using them forever. I understand why Music Man. Look, I get it. Why companies want to make their own pickups. The margin on pickups is very good, as I've told you guys, and now people are smarter than they used to be. No, that's not true. They're still just as dumb as they ever were, but they're more informed. And even dumb, you're more informed. You can't help but learn stuff. So more informed. We know now. We're like, wait a minute. This guitar is $3,000, but the set of Seymour Duncan pickups is $160. Like how? What else is in this guitar? It's so expensive. So of course, a lot of companies are really learning that if they make their own pickups, and I would say I always said this, ideas are infectious, right? Somebody starts an idea, it works, whether it's a good idea or a bad idea, it's infectious. I would never accuse Paul Reed Smith of this particular thing, but they're the one that comes to mind when it comes to guitar companies that did this. But obviously Gibson probably a little bit too, probably, right? Basically making pickups and then pricing them really, really high. And then in thought process, it's like, wow, that guitar sounds really good because it's got a $500 set of pickups in it. I mean, that, it's really hard, if you're trying to brag, if you're trying to be cool, to be like, yeah, I got a $4,000 Gibson here and it's got a set of $150 Seymour Duncans in it. You know what I mean? It's hard to do that. That's why they're always looking for a high-end pickup to put in guitars to level up guitars. So for instance, import guitars always put the Seymour Duncans and Dimarzios in them, and then EMGs, and now Fishmans, and of course now bare knuckles. You're seeing a lot of bare knuckles. And I've talked to so many manufacturers, including I did a podcast with Joe Nags and Peter Wolf. Highly recommend you guys check that out. We'll talk about the video I did this week if it doesn't come up later, because I got somebody asked for a backstory on that. But in there, we talked about the fact that they used a lot of Dimarzios and Duncans. And I asked them, why do they use Dimarzio and Duncans on essentially $6,000 guitars? And they go, well, why make our own pickups when somebody else makes a great pickup that's proven, right? These pickups have been on albums. They are used by artists around the world. They're respected. They work. Why? They didn't understand why you'd want anything better. And then they basically told me, though, but they have learned now that a lot of people are really kind of requesting more bare knuckles. And we had a little conversation about, I wonder if that's based on the price, because here in the US, bare knuckles are a lot of money. The irony of this, by the way, for us in America, if you don't know, bare knuckles are not so much expensive over in Europe as they are here. It's like Marshall products, right? To there, Marshall's less expensive. Mesa Boogie is very expensive in Europe. So here, bare knuckles are very expensive, but they're expensive because of the exchange rates and the shipping and all that stuff. Very great, very good pickups. I like the mules. I have a set of mules in one of my nags. Great pickups, but I believe that the main reason people are putting Fishmans and bare knuckles, although they are great pickups, in guitars over Duncans and Dimarzios now, is because consumers like, oh, those are more expensive pickups, and that helps kind of validate the pricing. And so, of course, it makes more sense when somebody like PRS or now Music Man making their own pickups basically says, hey, raise the prices on their pickups, because then, it gives your guitars more value. Keep in mind, the irony of all this is most guitar companies are not in the pickup business. So if they make their own pickups super expensive, it does really kind of substantiate their higher pricing. It's just a thought process. I've had this conversation. If anyone asks, I'll tell you what companies. I've had a lot of conversations about pickups with companies and pricing and logic. And I cannot think of, I'd rather, instead of just list all the companies I've talked to, I'd rather try to think of who was not thinking the way I was thinking. And I can't think of a single company that didn't really understand the concept of, you make your own pickups, you make them expensive, and then therefore the guitar seems more expensive to the end consumer is a smart move. A la Heritage, right? Heritage sells a guitar for $2,500 that comes with Duncans. They sell a $4,000 guitar that comes with their pickups. People just validate that as like, wow, their pickups must be more special. G&L does the same thing. I even told the G&L guys, I said, look, I think it's cool that you put some of your G&L USA pickups in your import guitars. And I think that's cool. It helps people understand, that they can get the same tone in a more affordable product. So, I don't know. That's just my thoughts. It's funny. Your name here says those early Dimarzio pickups are next level goodness. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm reading all this wrong. The early Dimarzios are next level goodness. I have a different perspective because Dimarzio hasn't changed. Dimarzio pickups has never made an import pickup ever. And every pickup has been made in New York in the same facility, pretty much on the same machinery. Other than when Larry was winding them himself, it's pretty much done the same way. Nothing's really changed. They have changed some materials, but there's reasons for that. And anyone ever curious why, I'll talk about it. Larry talks about it in great length all over the time, why base plates on certain pickups are changed for improvements. But Some base plates are not changed on pickups because, believe it or not, if they change up a component in a pickup and they find the sound is not improved or the same, then they don't do it. So some pickups do have changes and some pickups don't. So it's really interesting. So the reason I say that is because it's, again, you got to understand the scale of things. Dimarzio and Seymour Duncan, look, are not the same scale, okay? Seymour Duncan's a larger company. So like a lot of larger companies, they're using a lot of mass winders where they're doing like 6 pickups at a time, stuff like that. Dimarzio's doing 1 pickup at a time winding, like traditionally was done what they were doing it years ago. So the reason I tell you that is I have old Dimarzios and I have new ones, and I was told the same thing. I was also told that about Seymour Duncan's as well, that the old ones sound better than the new ones. No, I think there's just some variances in pickups, and like I've told you guys before last week, I think with like a JB is a perfect example. If I get a 10-year-old JB or a new one, if I'm able to pick, and find one, I can find you one that are the exact same, the way they sound, the way everything works. It's just the variances of the winds. Even though in Seymour Duncan's case, they have kind of modernized the facility a little bit more. So you could argue that they've changed the formula a little bit. I don't really think they have. If anything, they've made it more consistent. So just my 2 cents. Just my 2 cents on pickups and what I've seen. So let's see. El Dunarino says he has some old Dimarzios and they sound trash. Well, if you don't like them, you don't like them. I don't like everything either. The pickups I'm going to be using today, I'm not really a huge fan of, but I'll talk about why, and they happen to be Dimarzios. So interesting enough, I'll explain why the brand isn't what matters, other than the quality, trusting in the quality. It's really it's really about the ingredients, right? So we'll talk about that. We'll do that for Guitar of the Week. Let's see. Donald says, never understood why companies don't make more unique feature pickups like the Ripley stereo. I would have made it easier differentiate manufacturer features from each other. I see now PRS is really trying to make his own kind of molds, own shape pickups. I think when I think of companies making their own style pickups, obviously a ton of companies from the 60s, that was a big deal. And then, of course, in the modern age, I would say PV for sure with his different shape pickups. I would say most manufacturers have experienced that if they make something that is not replaceable by the consumer, they can't replace it now. The a la Eddie Van Halen modding guitars, forward, the whole idea that a stock guitar is not good enough. I mean, you have to think about it. We don't know the answer. None of you know the answer. What started this? But Eddie Van Halen was sure put it on the map if it wasn't on the map before, which is that idea. A stock guitar is not good enough, right? That's all you have to say. Stock guitar is not good enough, so therefore we need, to customize it, to make it our own, to modify it, right? And guitars that can't be modified, they're just not exciting. I've seen it before. Yamaha's done it, where again they made their own shape pickups. There was nothing that fits in them, and the guitars don't sell. Now, the hard part is to say that if you use a weird shape pickup, your guitar won't sell. I can't prove that statement, but what I can tell you is there are very few guitars that have stood the test of time with odd shape pickups. And I would ask you to tell me a guitar with a strange pickup out there that is stood the test of time and is commonplace. And you're gonna find it's almost not non-existent. You'll only be able to find me strange outliers of brands. That's it. This one brand here maybe, and this one model here maybe. But when you're talking about 80% of the market is doing it the same way, which is a standardized system, it's because they learned real fast, probably in the 80s, probably the 70s, 80s, definitely 80s, and then forward each decade even more so, that guitar players want to modify their own instruments, make them their own. And so that's why I made it a point to mention a couple times on the last PRS guitars that have strange shape pickups, that it's an interesting idea to go to that, because, you could see where some players might not like it, because if they get the guitar and if you like the guitar and you don't love the way it sounds, you can't change any electronics or any of the hardware, you might get rid of the guitar instead of modify it, keep it. See, now watch this. Degent Art. I love this. He's going to say the G&L Z coils. So let me give you an example of that. I had a viewer say, hey, thanks for promoting G&L, Phil. The millions of guitar players that love G&L. Thank you. I responded to him with, there's not millions of G&Ls. G&L is just for scale. G&L is a company. We're not going to talk about the guitar with the Z coils yet. As a company, I think Fender USA makes as many guitars as G&L in the first week, if not the first, and I'm being gracious, the first 2 weeks of the year. So by January 15th, Fender has made as many guitars this year as G&L will make for the entire year. So, and that guitar with a Z coil, although I love that guitar, is not the number one selling G&L. So again, I'm a huge G&L fan. I'm a huge fan of their pickups. I'm a huge fan of what they do. So this isn't about that. This is about, like, you got to look at the numbers, and to you guys that just love music and guitars, God bless you, because we're all at heart that person. Maybe your brain is like, well, who cares? Well, the people who aren't making money care. The people who are like, wow, I wish I could sell more than the first 2 weeks of guitars that Fender can. I'd like to get a hold of some market share. G&L, I've said this before, G&L physically smaller in size and employees than Kiesel Guitars. And Kiesel Guitars is a small operation in the grand scheme of things. There's a guitar company I'm going to be reviewing very soon. I actually, they were very cool and gave me their yearly numbers, employees, and all that stuff to put in the video. I thought that was really cool. And I was in shock to the point of not only disbelief, I had to go behind them and fact check a little bit. Like, I could not believe these numbers were so large because and they didn't understand why I was in shock, because I'm like, you understand, a lot of people are not making as many guitars as people think. So yeah, it's not as common. That's what I'm saying. Like, when you're talking about a huge market of guitars, there's not a whole lot of strange pickup guitars out there. So I would say the strangest pickups that are still commonplace would be Filtertron style pickups. I would say that. That would make sense. I would say humbuckers, single coils, P90s are pretty standard in order, I would imagine. Probably just by the sheer volume of Fender sales, single coils are the most dominant pickup made, just by that logic. But but to argue single coils and humbuckers, I could say it's up there with Strats and Les Pauls. It's a standard. P90s would be the second thing. Then probably Tele pickups, and then maybe Filtertron, something like that. But like I said, once you get past that, then I would bet you if we graphed it, it drops dramatically. The different style of pickups goes really finite, really fast, into thousands, not tens of thousands. So, but we can always check that information out. What's great about that is most companies I can reach out to and get some more interesting okay, hold on. I usually don't preview a question, but I'm reading this one first because it's just I started it reading it. Sometimes I just start reading them as I see them, but this one threw me. So this is Dougal Dog, says, good day, Phil. How on earth do volume and tone pots with poor to non-existent taper get used even on pricey guitars? How does that escape notice by the maker? So what I have seen in most guitar companies, it doesn't matter who they are. You got to think about it in a production concept. Okay. So, they build the guitar and then as they're building it, they're testing things. And then finally the guitar is finished. And then there's a final QA. And quality assurance only spends so much time with an instrument. It's, they can't spend hours and try to find that thing. So they might, move the 3-way switch or the 5-way switch. They might turn the knobs. They might check things, and then things get missed. If that's what you're talking about, it's like, how does mistakes like that get through where, maybe the potentiometer doesn't work, or it travels really bad, or it has an issue, or scratching, or things with switches. That's how that stuff gets through. If you're talking about why do they use potentiometers that are not great in expensive guitars, in my experience, the companies that want to save the most money are going to hide the things that you're either not going to see or not informed to look at. A guitar industry is not different than any other manufacturing industry when it comes to the majority of consumers are just not informed other than key phrases. Organic. Hey, what does organic mean? Expensive. Haha, that's my joke. So organic, right? What does organic mean? What does free range mean, right? We can go nuts with all these terminology, right? People learn a term and then they go, well, is this term I know, this one thing, is this rosewood? Is this true bypass? They get a term and they go, that's the term of quality, and they go to it. And a manufacturer is not dumb, but also they're not all good people, right? They're businesses, and sometimes the business is just focused on the one thing, which is selling a product. And so I've seen it many times. It's funny to me how it didn't occur to almost all the YouTubers, including myself at the beginning, to not take apart instruments. When YouTube reviews started, it was essentially like, hey, I got a guitar. And then you showed the guitar, you played the guitar, and that was the information given. And then slowly you start seeing people going, well, this tuning key's a little loose, and now it's talking about details, and then looking and then pulling guitar apart and looking and stuff. And the concept being like, yeah, let's check the overall, let's learn about the quality. Well, in those regards, like when I do the deep dives, it's not that I'm taking a guitar apart. I'm a 20-year guitar repair person. And this is what I look for with you. Like I said, if you see a deep dive, those are the things I'm looking for, not to show you, to teach you. I'm looking for if you brought me a guitar and said, I just got this guitar, can you go through it? Right? No different than if somebody bought a used car or a new car and took it to their favorite mechanic and said, can you go through this, Phil, and look through it and see what you see? And I'll be like, yeah, sure. I'll be like, hey, it looks great, but just so you know, a couple issues I'm a little concerned about. The way they put it together might have problems in the future. Or if it's used, hey, your brake pads are a little worn. They might need to be replaced. So that's what I'm focused on. That's why sometimes I think people get lost in my deep dive videos, because they'll go, why didn't you complain about this? Why didn't you mention that? I'm like, that stuff is only relevant to the person who owns the guitar. Like if you notice, I don't go, oh, the flaming on this isn't really flamed for the price. That's only relevant to the buyer. Some people don't care. What I care about is the quality components, because that's what I'm doing is I'm redoing what I used to do in my shop for years, and then sharing it on camera. So that's what I think is interesting about your question is, yes, that's where I notice they hide the mistakes. They hide them in the inside. Cheaper pots, cheaper components. I see it more and more. In fact, what I've been noticing over the years of doing this is that the high-end companies are getting closer to how the low-end companies used to do stuff, and the low-end companies are getting closer to how the high-end companies are doing it. It's interesting to me. And I wonder if the effect of all these YouTubers now taking things apart and actually putting documentation, video documentation out there on the internet about what people are building and what people are doing will eventually have a change to them. I think it will. I've had several companies now that I've done videos for, and I'm not special in any way. There's other YouTubers that have had the same experience where companies reached back out and said, didn't occur to them that we're going to poke on those things and they're going to fix them because, perfect example, Valiente Guitars. It's a handmade guitar in Italy. It's an amazing guitar. When I mentioned a couple issues I had with that guitar, his response I thought was beautiful. He's like, no one ever said anything. They never said anything to me. He didn't care about those things as a builder. He wasn't cheating anyone. He was just like, I don't know. I'm only focused on the things I care about because that's what I'm building. I never thought to me that anyone would not like that. And he didn't go, by the way, for the record, he didn't change things because I mentioned it in my video. He's like, hey, the bald guy doesn't like it. He looked at your comment section and said, wow, these people are like, yeah, I wish that's horrible. Or, hey, yeah, I hate that too when it happens. And he was like, wow, I never thought guitar players cared about like things like that. So that's my answer to your question. They will absolutely put cheap stuff where you can't see it. That's where the cheap stuff will be in most cases. Let's see. Dookie Shoes. Oh, that's a great name. Dookie Shoes wants to know if I'll do an update to the brands, companies who owns who. Yeah, I've done 2 or 3. I'll do another one. It's probably due now. It's post-COVID one's definitely due. There's been some changing around. That might be fun. So I can do that. Okay. I love it. Sometimes I'm laughing because I read a question and I have no idea what the answer is. So I'm like, I can't do it, but I love the sentiment of the question. Superlee 100 says, I think YouTube reviews has had an impact on guitar and other manufacturers for sure. I believe so. I believe so in a positive and a negative way. I believe that YouTube reviews, and I don't think that's exclusive to our industry of guitars in any way, have made it to where companies can manipulate better and to where companies are more accountable. And it has nothing to do with who's lying and who's telling the truth in reviews. It's about what we focus on. You see what I'm saying? It's where we focus on. I've said this before. I will do better economically through the what do you call it? Sponsorship if I would just do unboxings. I really appreciate, I do. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate all the companies who have sent product over the years, especially any company who sent product a second time or third time. Regardless of how many guitars that were sold or they thought were sold or whatever, I don't care. I really appreciate them sending a product and I really appreciate them doing it again. And that being said, that's great, but I would be disingenuous if I didn't say that a majority of them don't want me to do this video. They want me to do just an unboxing. An unboxing video is not only what most of the companies want, they continually offer me more money to do that video instead of the video. I won't kiss and tell, I'm sorry, but I feel confident to say 40%. Right now, I kind of hear my wife, because she's probably watching the show, going, no, it's 70. But to me, it's 40% of the companies. And I have done deep dives behind their backs, so you know, where I've gotten the guitar and I've done the deep dive. In my mind, I gave them better value, 3 days of work for a 1-day work that they were sponsoring. No one's ever asked me to take a video down for that reason. But it is tough because they do prefer the, wow, I'm so lucky, because look, let's face it, to me, YouTube is an information platform. It's where you go to be informed. You want to learn how to fix things, you go there. You want to learn stuff, you go there. You want to learn how to do stuff, you know, I already repeated myself, go to YouTube. Social media is why, you know, TikTok, Instagram, no offense to those platforms, the social media platforms, that's really the FOMO stuff, right? That's more, I mean, we're guilty of it too on YouTube by far, but that's really the, wow, you will never believe what this person gave me. I'm so lucky. It grabs views like crazy. I try to stay away from it, although unfortunately it grabs views. So I am tempted to pull it from time to time because it does well. And who doesn't want to do well on a platform that you're putting tons of work into? But I try to abstain from it a lot. But I see it. I see it in the comment section. You know, it makes you want to buy, and they know that. They're like, wow, I want to have that moment too, where I'm excited. So unboxings are by far the thing that they're more interested in. Reactions to a product so much as a review of a product. I understand that. It's why we do constant reviews that are not sponsored. It's just how it works. You know, I'm not complaining because, like I said, we do well. I think we do as well as any channel my size does for when it comes to reviews versus our sponsors versus unsponsored videos. But, you know, it's a balance act. Okay. Sloth Hand. Smear silence. Great. At least I can read them. Hey, Phil, what do you feel is the best way to sell a custom built guitar by a small builder? Look, if they're a small builder, they're most likely they have a small fan base. You need to find their fan base. You know, if you have a custom instrument by a small builder, maybe going to the big store like Reverb or eBay are not your best chances. Do that because, hey, that's the most eyes, right? You want the most eyeballs. You're trying to sell a product. You want as many people to see as possible. But this has nothing to do with just, so you know, this device is not exclusive to custom builds by small builders. This is unique items in general, just unique items. If you put a very unique item on a mass selling platform like Craigslist, Reverb, eBay, you name it, you're going to get either no excitement, no response, because generally those people don't look there. The people are looking for a very specific product. But also, you're going to get lots of lowball offers because people are like, hey, for this price, I'll try it. Okay? What you're looking for is the people like you who really are passionate about that guitar or that brand. Find them. There are all kinds of Facebook groups, Reddit groups. Just find them. If you can't find them, maybe reach out to the small builder. Don't worry about this. Don't worry about like if they're like, you're going to sell a guitar I made for you. Look, that's how it works. They want, generally speaking, I find most small builders are the most passionate by far. They're so passionate that when I used to have companies, remember I used to tell you guys I don't work for free unless you have a 501c, which means, so for those people not in the US, 501c is a tax filing, means you're an actual charity. So in other words, I would tell companies, they would reach out to me and say, hey, we want you to do a video for free. And I'm like, yeah, why don't you donate $1,000 or $2,000 to charity? And I'll do the video, because if I'm going to work for free, at least the charity should get something out of it. So I created the joke, I don't work for free unless you're a 501c. Interesting enough, I learned the hard way once my wife took over managing everything, that 90%, I'm just making up percentages, but I want you to understand the scope and scale. 90% of the company said no, which always shocked me, right? And then she was in her first day on the job, so to speak, right? She was like, Phil, look, I go, yes. No, she goes, no one's going to do it because that's you can only write off a portion of charity as a tax write-off. Marketing is a 100% tax write-off. They would rather pay you or send you product and write it off as marketing than they would at only writing off a percentage of charity. So you're not thinking of it correctly. When she said that, what hit me like a ton of bricks? Not only that was that smart and I wasn't thinking that way, that only the small independent guys were doing the charities, none of the big companies. So any company who had an accountant was like, no, we don't want to donate to a charity, right? We want, just send him the product, right? He can donate to charity, which I guess is better financially for me, I guess. I don't know. So small builders are passionate is what I'm trying to say. That's what I've learned in that interaction. Small builders would do the things because they would be like, really? You want us to just give some money to charity? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, I love this idea. Let's do it, right? And yet the big companies are like, no. So I would contact the small builder, say, hey, look, do you have a focus group, or not focus group? Do you have a Facebook group? Do you have a Reddit page? How do I get a hold of them? And let them know that I'm selling an interesting piece of gear here. And find the right customer for the right product. That's the way you do that when it's a specialty product. And again, it doesn't have to be that. It could be any specialty product. Like if I was selling, a high-end signature guitar or high-end, not a vintage guitar because that's a different kind of market, but like an artist guitar. Like if I was going to get rid of a really cool George Lynch guitar or something like that, I might go to find where George Lynch fans are that are guitar players and see if they're interested. They're going to have a much more bigger value of it than anybody else. So Chris Gonzalez says, have you heard about the Boss Katana Go being discontinued? No, I haven't heard about it, but it doesn't shock me. Those are throwaway products, so they never last the test of time. It's a technology product, which means it has either it didn't do well and it will go away forever, or it's slowed down and therefore they need a new one. Right? It's always about a new one. It's kind of like I told you, a lot of companies, especially in the guitar industry, because they don't. There's not a whole lot of. It's not a big industry, so it's about following other business ideas. They will try to copy like an Apple business model. It's like, hey, let's sell. I don't want to pick on Katana. You could pick on Fender, anybody. A product, a technology product. You sell that product until you see sales slowing, then you discontinue, come out with a new version. It's almost like you would go, hey, man, we were selling a lot of katanas during COVID. Maybe we need a Gen 3, right? It's not making fun of them, by the way. I already said this. I respect and love Boss. As you know, I'm a huge Boss fan. I love the katana. But Gen 3 is not so much like they were going, hey, I think we didn't make the amp as great as we could. Let's make it better. It was like, hey, the amps are now sticking to the floor in the stores. We need a new version to get people buying. So that's how technology works. It's how all technology works. It's the new thing. It's a new shiny thing. New shiny thing. It's always got to be new shiny thing. So let's see. Lewis said, word on the street is that they had supply issues for chips used in the Katana Go. Something companies I work with have had common issues with. Well, everybody has chip issues still. It's why we're building so many chip manufacturers in the U.S. right now. Well, it's one of the reason that we're building. So they're going to have 6, I guess, where I live. They're building 6 just where I live right now, fabs. But that being said, my guess is sales. Look, sales have dramatically slowed on a lot of products right now. So maybe they're going to retool it. Maybe they're going to do something like that. But my guess is it's run its course. That's my guess. Now, that and the chip shortage could be a component, but I'd be shocked if it wasn't that it hasn't run its course. Notice how the positive grid people keep coming out with product, right? It's look, you gotta keep coming out with product. I've said this before. And I think maybe YouTube escalates that. You know, we all need a new video with the newest thing for us all to buy. We all need something to buy. Oh, we're so dumb. Okay, but hey, there's worse things you can do with your time and money, I think. Okay. No, I'm not going to do the guitar of the week yet. I want to do another one of Amanda's questions she sent me, and then we'll do that. This is from Tim. He says, hey, Phil, the Heritage Les Paul Standard comes with Seymour Duncan 59s. Not sure if that's the holy grail, but I've long considered selling my Gibson Les Pauls for Heritage. Thoughts? I absolutely love the Heritage Les Paul that's on the wall. That's behind me if I point there. Tomorrow, I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag yet, but I have some friends coming over. I don't want to say they're special friends, but they're friends that I'm really curious to see what they think of this Heritage. So I have some friends coming over tomorrow. It's not a work thing, but it is let's just say, Gibson fanatics, right? They love Gibsons, and I'm really going to be curious to see, you know, what they think of this Heritage versus some Gibsons and stuff. And it will give me some more perspective to give you guys on that. I'm really curious. Like I said, I love my Gibsons. I just really like the Heritage guitar a lot. You know, it's lighter, you know, I mean, like I said, but they made it special. They put the bigger frets on it. I do have a Gibson video coming, ironically. Ironically, I do. It's not a sponsored video. Again, it was a video request. There's 2 cool videos coming. One is actually sponsored, one's not. Both are from you guys' request of a podcast. You know, a company agreed to send a product because you guys mentioned it on the podcast. I thought that was cool. And then I bought a product to do a video for you guys because you requested it. Thought it'd be fun. Back to the thing. I like Seymour Duncan 59s. As I've told you, I would say the JB 59 is my favorite Seymour Duncan set. You know, some people don't like it. Some people love it. I happen to love it. And dual 59s, I think, sound great in a Les Paul. But I like the Heritage pickups better. I wish Heritage would put those in all their guitars. I think that's the way to go. So I think they're, again, holding the Heritage pickups to kind of push you to go to the higher echelon. But I think if they put those in their $2,500 guitars, I think it would be a no-brainer for them. I think it's just, I think a lot of you would feel more like it's a more exciting $2,500 guitar with a custom set of pickups in there from Heritage. But there's nothing wrong with the Seymour Duncan 59s. There's only been probably, you know, 1,000 great songs written on those exact pickups. So good enough for everybody that's written a hit song. I'm sure it's good enough for us. Matthew says, what kind of magnifying light with articulate arm do you have in your workbench? Oh, thank you for that question. I put the link in the what video? Let me go to it. So I put a link in the video. The video I did, the how to roll your fretboard edge video has the link for that particular product in the video. I will put it when I timestamp it here, so you guys know. I started putting it in the videos. I noticed you guys were asking about it. I put a link. It's an Amazon link. If you click it and you buy it, I get like $1 million. I think I get 1%. But hey, I appreciate that 1%, especially from Amazon. So, but I put it there. So everything in that video, what's great about that video is every single tool that I physically put my hands on in that video is in the links. That's what I try to do in a lot of the videos. If I'm physically using the tool in the video, I like to put a link because not only is it revenue for the channel, it's helpful for you guys, you know, like I said, as a resource. I try to send as many people to Amazon over StewMac, although if you have the StewMac program. It's really cool, but my concern sometimes is if I send you for a $10 tool Sumac, they charge you $10 in shipping. I'd rather just go to Amazon. But use whoever you want. I just looking at like in my world, it's just about it's easier to send you to somewhere I know they're going to ship it to you and have it to you, and you can return it with no problem. If it's something that you don't like, I don't have to lose any sleep at night whether or not I recommend the wrong thing or not. If you don't like it, send it back. And then by the way, they take my 1% back. So there you go. All right, let's do Guitar of the Week. All right, it'll be fun. What did we do? We do this.
Now it's time for Guitar of the Week.
So as you know, Guitar of the Week is, I think, doing well. People seem to like it. If for you guys watching, it's only here. If you're listening, you don't even know what happens because it gets edited out of the listening platform. So today I wanted to share a guitar, and then I changed my mind last minute. I was sharing a guitar that you can't buy at all in any shape or form, and then it hit me. I bet I could talk to the company and see if they'll let you buy it, because it's not that they physically don't make it, it's restricted. It was special for me somehow, and I thought that's let's wait. So I picked another guitar, and I wanted a guitar that has a story and it's weird, and here it is. So what guitar are we using today? This is a guitar called the Alvarez Dana Scoop. You can see through it, which is cool. I don't know if you can see me seeing through it. There you go, see through it. All right, this guitar is fun for a couple reasons. I like a guitar with stories. This has a lot of stories. Some of them may be funny. First story is this is my oldest guitar. When I say oldest, I don't mean most vintage. The guitar I've owned the longest, and it has been stolen. I got it back, and then I sold it, and then I bought it back. Okay, so here's what happened. When I was a teenager, my grandfather passed away, and my mother inherited some money. And one of the things she did with the money is she took me to the music store and bought me an amp, a really nice, it was a big crate amp. As you guys know, I told you the story of the Marshall and the crate that involved that same inheritance money. And then she bought me this guitar. Okay, now I went into the music store and I saw this guitar and I just fell in love. Now, this guitar, as far as I know, is only famous for two things. One, Lita Ford endorsed it for a short moment. And so you can see ads of her if you Google Dana Scoop, D-A-N-A, Scoop guitar, and Lita Ford. Maybe the ad comes up on Google Images. She had the beautiful wood one, which was curly maple, and our quilted maple, solid quilted maple. And of course, for those of you old schoolers like me, there's a white one in Wayne's World 2. The guitar player in the band is playing a white one of these. They only came in a couple colors. Metallic blue, I think black, this red, a white, which was pretty rare. And then they had a couple versions where I had 3 pickups, and it gets a little weird after that. But here's what happened. I told you guys I was a product of, started playing guitar in 1989. So by the time I started playing guitar, by the time I could form a chord, play something, and try to get my parent, my mother, to basically get me another guitar, the 80s thing was kind of dead, right? It was in phase out, phase in mode, right? We still had Steve Vai did stuff. Guitar was still reigning supreme, but you also had not only grunge, but of course rap was huge. So when I was starting guitar, the first time I ever went to a music store, I told you guys I went and bought a JB player because that's what we could afford. It was a cheap guitar. What I didn't tell you was the guitar that I dreamed about that day when I walked in. The first guitar I saw that I fell in love with was a White Pearl Warlock and BC Rich, and I thought this is the guitar. And I saw the price tag and I was like, this is not the guitar. And I basically always loved the idea of BC Rich. Interesting enough, this guitar is a 1992. So I bought this in 92. In 92, there wasn't even BC Riches in the stores. Not in stores I went in, there was no kind of guitar. So I saw this guitar and I thought, what is this? And there's a reason why I love this guitar. It does not sound particularly great to me, especially after what I've done to it. And most people don't react to it in a positive way. They think it looks silly or weird or dumb, whatever you want to say. I like how it's always flat and you can just put it on the flat. That's why I don't have a strap button on it. Sometimes I'll just put it flat on the floor like this because it's funny. But I love it because it reminds me, every time I see this guitar, it reminds me of my youth. Not because I bought it when I was young, but because young me never thought about how this might break or how stupid this is, right? Like it's like trying to cross a rickety bridge, right? When you're young, you're like, wow, what could go wrong? When you're older, you're like, does this have a permit? Is this structurally sound? Who's checked this recently, right? Me now would look at this guitar and go, dumb idea. It's not going to work. But young me saw this and thought it was cool. I'm going to demonstrate why I actually thought it cool and why I bought it. So I bought this guitar, and originally it comes with Dana original stock pickups. It has a single coil here, it had a humbucker there, and it had a booster or a active system in it. As I told you guys last week, I thought that's why at the last minute I thought I'd bring this guitar. I mentioned to you that my friend bought a Nuno N2 when we were kids, and it had the stock Washburn pickup. We wanted the Bill Lawrence. We didn't know what a Bill Lawrence was. He bought a X2N and put it in his guitar, and then we thought that sounded like amazing. Sounded like Nuno Betancourt. So when I got this guitar and I got a little bit of money, I went and bought an X2N. I put a red X2N in it because I was like, oh, it matches. And also, they only had green and red in the store. So it was like not like I was going to pick green. So I did that. This pickup, I only did this because this pickup is so loud that the single coil pickup, you couldn't even hear it anymore. So I ended up having to put in here, this is a fast track. So I put a fast track in the middle position. Yeah, it's weird having a middle pickup. I think they should have just made it a one pickup guitar and just made it shrederific. In the back. This guitar is 24 3/4 scale, like a Les Paul, and it has block inlays. If you don't know why this guitar exists, it exists because of an interesting time that has never existed before and has never existed since, which is, if you guys are familiar with Alvarez Guitars, they are an acoustic guitar company. They were owned by St. Louis Music Company, who also owned Crate and then eventually owned Ampeg. And in the late 80s, early 90s, they had a problem that never happened in music history before, and hasn't happened since, which is electric guitars were outselling acoustic guitars. So, yep, and in the 80s and the early part of the 90s, very early 90s, more people were buying electric guitars than acoustic guitars. It never had happened before. And again, shortly after that, it's never happened again. Acoustic guitar sales now still are number one sales for volume. Most people start with an acoustic guitar. But back in the day, you couldn't convince little Philip McKnight to get an acoustic guitar. That was something that I was not even going to, because that was the thing that you get smashed at Animal House, right? That was actually a true story. That's what I thought of acoustic guitars. That a dude plays an acoustic guitar, some dude is going to grab it and smash it on you because that's just so lame. I guess maybe I saw Animal House too early. But electric guitar was the way to go. So Alvarez had to make electric guitars. It's a very long story. I actually have a video about the 5 things you don't know about the Dana Scoop. You can watch that, but it talks about how basically Dana Sutcliffe designed this guitar through an accident, and Alvarez decided to put this guitar in production. I walked into the store in 1992 and thought, this is the guitar for me. Bought the guitar, then eventually upgraded the pickups, and did that. On the back, I have the hex hider. So I mentioned it last week on the N4, I have the Allen wrenches that screw in the back. This one is the magnet that goes there. So very cool, does that. This is made in Korea. They're all made in Korea. There was no production. When it came out in 1992, it actually won Guitar of the Year at the NAMM show, and then it went out. It was gone. I think they only made it for 3 years. Somebody would have to Google it now. I want to say it was 91, 92, 93 were the only years it made. They might have pushed it to 95 with a couple of versions. I don't know. But obviously say it had a short-lived life. So the story that maybe is funny for you guys is I once played a gig with it, and then I came home late at night. And a lot of times, like a lot of us late at night with a gig, I got out my 412 cabinets and all my stuff out of the back of my truck, and I put it in the garage, and I went in the house and I went to sleep. The next day, like you do, I had a party, not like a planned party, but a friend came over, another friend came over. Next thing you know, 10 people are over, and we're all hanging out doing stuff. And at the next day, when I went out to the garage, the guitar was gone. It was there when at the party started. Somebody at the party went out the garage and took the guitar. Now, the only thing interesting about that story was only 2 people went out the garage at that party. And I was like, oh, well, pretty sure they stole it, but, what am I going to do? So what I did is I took a picture I had out of it, went to Walgreens and made a bunch of copies of the picture, paid Walgreens for the, pictures, glued them onto paper, put a reward, and put it in every pawn shop and music store in Tucson, Arizona. Now, keep in mind, this is a red scoop with red pickups in it. And I said, hey, reward for this guitar. And then, interestingly enough, the person who I thought stole it contacted me and said, hey, he found it. A friend of his stole it, and he can get it back from me. And he came back to claim the reward. And when he gave me the guitar and the case, you know, because in the case, when he claimed the reward, I said, yeah, I said, by law, I have to report to the police who the person was. So who is the person? And he's like, I don't want to give the person's name. And I go, oh, and he goes, don't worry about the money then. I go, okay. So I made that up, by the way. So if he's never going to watch this, but if he does, that was made up. So here's why the story's funny. Then, of course, I got the guitar back, which was very cool. And then many years later, a few years later, as I told you, I joined the Army and sold everything I had. So I sold this guitar. And then when I got out of the Army, a few years under my belt, you know, school's done, I'm working a job. There's this thing called eBay. I'm on eBay one night looking at guitars. Holy crap. Red scoop, red pickups, same serial number. This is my guitar. And I bought the guitar. So I got the guitar back. So I don't play it. In fact, I was scared to death. In fact, when I picked it out today to play it, the switch wasn't working. So I had to go clean it real quick and check a few things. And it was caked in dust. I feel bad. Like I told you earlier, you know, if I don't play it, I don't keep it. But this guitar, as you can see, I'm not going to get this back. They hold almost no value. People try to get anywhere between $700 to $1,000 for them. I personally think they're worth about $400, maybe $500. But that's what I think it's worth. I'm not going to sell mine, so maybe it's worth whatever somebody wants to pay for it. Right now, I'm just going to run through my Princeton. I'm going to run an overdrive. I'm going to place some of the stuff for you, if you don't mind. And then, but really, first, I want to show you this funny thing that I'll tell you in a second. Hold on. So let's go to it. Let me change positions. Okay. All right. Okay. So we switch guitar views. We don't mind. Maybe I'll push this back a little bit like so. All right. So you guys, let's see if you can hear it. Yep, you can. Okay, cool. So as you can imagine, it has no neck pickup. So to me on the clean channel, the best sound is both pickups engaged. This is the middle and the neck. I have the bridge against the body, even though it's recessed. It's only lightly recessed, so I just have it against the body. So let's go ahead and I'll just play for a few minutes, and then I'll show you some stuff. Here we go. Now let's go to the middle pickup, which of course is the closest to the neck, so we're going to call it the neck pickup. And of course that bridge pickup, which is going to be a little aggressive. All right, so I'm going to go to overdrive, and I'm going to show you something that's so lame that I'm embarrassed to show you, but it's true. When I had this guitar, I had hair. But I thought it was cool because I would do cool things like use the scoop out right here to make harmonics. So I would play and I would do this right here. Okay, so let's go to the middle, which is the neck pickup. Okay, now this is the last one. This is the bridge, but with no delay. Okay, so let me switch seats again. All right, I don't really switch seats so much as I just move my seat. but it sounds cooler if I say switch seats. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that. So differently, I thought it was cool, man. When you were young looking for a gimmick, I thought that was going to be my thing. I'd hit a E chord and then I'd hit the harmonics in that scoop hole. No one cared. So that was it. By the time I had that guitar, that music was over. And that's when I switched to bass. I think I've told that story. I won't bore you guys with old football story, so to speak. But so that is a Dana scoop with the X2N pickup in it. Like I said, it's different. It's cool. So you guys know, I have only seen one, and I could say two to be safe, but I've only seen one where it got damaged, where that cutaway is. The rest are not there. The rest are pretty bulletproof. Just for the record, this is a maple neck with a rosewood fretboard. It does have a version with a maple fretboard, and the bodies are alder, except for the one that, like I said, if you see the one with Lita Ford, hers is a solid piece of curly maple. I think it's two pieces, but it might be one solid piece of curly maple, quilted maple. But like I said, this is just alder. This is just a licensed Floyd Rose. It's not a real one. And that's it. And it's got a little bolt system there. It was supposed to improve the sustain, having this cutaway, and give you better access. What I've learned is this little bump right here pretty much stops you from having great access. In fact, the handshake on this it's all right. Like the SG is better, actually. So that's not that awesome. And the sustain, I don't notice it. But then again, I did gut their electronics and throw an X2 in it to be super metal. So that is a Alvarez Dana scoop with a little story about why they did that and how that all happened for them. And then luckily for Alvarez, just a couple short years after producing that guitar, the acoustic market went back to normal, and it's been normal ever since. Acoustic guitars outsell electric guitars, other than just that 80s time when everybody wanted to be a rock star. Everybody else, it's just where it works. That's the way it works. Okay. So if you guys have any comments about the guitar, let me know in the comments section. This will tie into another question. Somebody asked me, so this week I did a video with Larry Mitchell. If you guys don't know, he's a Grammy winning producer and an amazing guitar player. That's something you have to announce. I think it's important to announce, right? It's an amazing thing. List of people I know with Grammys. 1. Anyways, so I mentioned it. So he did a video with me this week. If you guys didn't see it, I absolutely love the video. It started because he was in town. He said, let's do a video. And I said, what? And he was like, I don't care. And I said, well, let's do a deep dive on your guitar, and then you can be part of it. I thought that'd be fun. And he was excited about it because he was like, what if this spawns a whole series of like where, musicians bring you their signature guitars and we do deep dives. I would love that. If you're a musician and you're going to be in Arizona, I will make it happen. I don't care what it is. I will even go to musicians. I can remote this the way I do this easy enough with my toolkits and stuff. I've done it at Sweetwater and other places. So I would love to do deep dives involved with musicians. So if anyone out there happens to catch a glimpse of this show of something and you're a musician with a signature instrument, I would love to do a video with you and figure out how to get that done. But Larry was of course, amazing. Somebody asked me how I met him. How I met him is actually kind of funny. We have a mutual friend, unfortunately, who passed away. His name is Dave Nesdall. He is a beautiful human being and extremely talented. In fact, we met him kind of the same way in the fact that we met him and then he became a teacher to us. So Dave taught Larry things. Dave taught me things on the guitar. And what happened was I was at the NAMM show. This is, I was barely a YouTuber at that time, and I had my store, and I bumped into some friends like Dave and stuff, and then Larry came up, and I introduced myself because I knew Larry before he knew me, because I knew him from the Guitar World ads that he was in as a kid, and of course I had his album, because I thought he was amazing. I remember thinking the first time I saw him with the zebra outfit and a little zebra stuffed animal. I thought that was really cool. And he had an X2N, and I was like, oh, X2Ns, yeah, right? So you tie that in together. But anyways, we meet at the NAMM show, and I should have uploaded a picture. I apologize to all you. I will find one. I will find one. Ah, look at that. Okay, let me do this. It won't be great, but hey, you listening won't even care because you can't see it. So that's me and him at the NAMM show. A little, I guess it's blurry. I don't know if it's blurry at the camera. That's me and the NAMM show. And then, funny enough, that's, here, watch. Here's me and him this week. He took a picture of us this week. It's like, we're the same. He looks the same age. I just look, my haircut hasn't changed. So anyways, when we met, what was funny about it was I had to do the geek out, the Chris Farley, like, remember that time you did, remember the thing you did with the delay in your hands? And we were talking, and when he got introduced to me, what he got introduced was not so much like Phil McKnight has a YouTube channel. He did, but he goes, oh, Phil McKnight has a store. And he goes, oh, where? And I said, Arizona. And he goes, I'm going to be in Arizona next week. Can I come to your store and do a clinic? And I go, yeah, well, you're with Ibanez or whatever, right? And he's like, oh, I'm not with Ibanez anymore. And I go, oh, well, who are you with? I'll figure out how to get it set up. And he's like, I'm just going to come do it. I'll just do it for free. And I go, well, you don't have to do it for free. And he's like, nah. He's like, I heard from Dave, you got students and stuff. I'd love to kind of interact with your students and just do a clinic. And so he came and did a clinic. And then we hung out and we shared stories and we talked about his amazing double neck, and he told me great stories about it. And we've been friends ever since. But so you know, if you meet Larry Mitchell, you're his friend. He's the nicest guy in the industry. I literally can say that with no question. I don't think there's a single person who would argue that I'm wrong in any way. He is literally the nicest guy in the guitar industry. And so he was in town. He's like, let's hang out. We had lunch a couple days in a row and we did the video. Funny enough, somebody talked about X2Ns. He had an X3N. He has the only X3N in existence prototype. Steve Blucher, I guess, made him an X3N pickup. I said, I don't think you'll mind me saying this. I said, oh, you have an X3N? He's like, yeah. And I go, how's it sound? He goes, not good. So I gotta tell you this. You know what? He like I told you, you can't call somebody the nicest guy in the industry and then be afraid to tell somebody something about him. Okay. So he comes over to my house. The first thing Shauna says to him is, "Are you allergic to cats or dogs?" Because we have 2 dogs and the cat. He goes, "No." We go, "Okay." So we have a ritual in my house, like a lot of you guys might know, when people come over. I got a 14-year-old dog who's going blind. She barks, all the time at everybody. She doesn't bite. She just barks. And then when she barks at you, she's fine. But then she leaves the room. She barks at you again. So Sean has learned and the other dog just wants you to be, his friend. So Sean has learned that when a new person comes in the house, although Larry's been over before, hasn't been over in about a couple of years because of the COVID and stuff. When you come in, she gives him like not chew toys, but chew treats, let him go chew and calm down. So we come in the house, and before she can do anything, Larry takes off his hat and lays on my front room floor, just lays on the floor. We're like, look, we're in Arizona. It's 110 outside. I'm thinking, oh my God, is he dying? What happened? He's just laying on the floor. He just lays spread out, like spread on the floor. And I didn't see it happen. He's behind me. I turn around and I'm like, are you okay? And he's like, I'm submitting. And both my dogs came up and started licking him. And he's like, yeah, he goes, and they literally were like, they love him just immediately. And then the cat came over and then they were all friends and it was all good. And I'm like, that is crazy. I go, that is crazy. So, I've just never seen that before. So apparently if you go to somebody's house, I wouldn't do that, by the way. I mean, I think he trusts me and my dogs and my family. I don't know if I'd lay down for anybody else's dogs, but I don't want to give bad advice like that. But it was amazing to watch him do it. And then we made that amazing video you guys saw. And hopefully you saw. If you didn't see that video, you need to watch it. We purposely, it looks like it's clickbaited. It's not. It's a video where if I was smart, I would have put instead of holding the secret towards the end of the video, and the coolest part of the video is at the end, by far. The last 5 minutes is the best part of that video. I would have put that at first, but I wanted the video. I don't care how good the video does. I want the video. I wanted it to just be a great video for those that cared. So that was my story. I tied in, and that ties in the X3N, the X2N, how we met, and how great he is. If you get a chance to see Larry play, you need to do it. He's amazing. All right. Let's go to questions. We're gonna go behind if we don't do this. I already took too long on the guitar of the week. I'm jumping around doing stuff. All right, what do we got? We got a question here from Corey. Corey says, on Reverb, I no longer see the selling history on products. Have you experienced this? If so, do you have insight on why they removed the feature? Let's not guess. Let's just look. So I'm going to pull it up right now. I'm pulling up Reverb. So you guys know I'm going into... I'm laughing because I'm like, I'll just show you guys. Guess what I've been looking at? Nags guitars. Recently viewed Nags guitars. Don't buy that one for $3,500, everybody. I saw as soon as that video posted, somebody bought the Larry Nags I was looking at. Or the Larry Mitchell Nags I was looking at. There was a Larry Mitchell Nags that had a great price used. I put it in my save cart. I did the video. I launched the video that night. I go, oh, I wonder, and it's gone. I was like, oh, good for you guys. But don't buy that one I'm looking at that's 2013. I got to figure out if I can sell something. Okay. So anyways, let's go. Let's look at, so I'm pulling up a guitar right now. And so if you guys don't know, you can go into the history of a product. So I'm doing that right now. Type in this. I'm just looking. And then I want to see the history of this guitar. So go to filters. And you know, the problem is they may have changed the terminology. The term you're looking for, I'll share with you. I just, obviously I just want to make sure I'm sharing with you correct things. Share more. I don't want that. Local price, share more. Show only. Okay. So can we go here? So maybe this is the problem. You're looking for a history. This is what they did. Everybody's always changing crap on us, right? So you go here, it doesn't matter what you're looking up. Just type in a product, then, it's new or used. You can look at used, you can do all that stuff. You want to go here where it says show only sold listings. And then I picked Parker because I just make it easier for me. So there's Parker guitars. So there's your sold Parker guitars, apparently. So it might be gone. Well, it can't be gone because I just did it. I don't know. I will tell you, I have trouble with my Mac and Reverb lately. If I'm on, no, sorry, take it back. Not my Mac. Safari. If I'm on Safari, I can't see some pictures on Reverb, so I have to go to Chrome. I don't know if that's your issue too. I'm just giving you that issue, but it's show more is what you're looking for, and then it's sold. I believe what you're probably used to is it used to just have a thing where it's like sold history or history. Show more seems a little go find it, right? They just made it a little harder to find. You're gonna love that. Okay, so Grumpy Mike Guitar says for the tone jar and why not? How are you and the kitty getting along? The kitty loves Shauna way more than me. I think I told you guys we adopted a kitty. The cat's great. She's amazing. I was told I'm allowed to tell you the cat's name because it actually ties into a amazing viewer patron. So I had, and I feel bad. I'm gonna make sure I say his name next week because I don't want to get it wrong. We had a patron viewer send us maple syrup from Vermont and a bunch of maple things that we all freaking loved, and some toys for the dogs, which was interesting because they're like little squeezy lamb toys, squeaky. The dogs did not like them. That sounds bad. It's not. The cat absolutely loves the lamb toys, and we decided to call the cat Maple. So the cat's name's Maple because we just thought the cat looked like Maple Leaf, and we just had all this maple, and she liked the maple toys. I don't know if the lambs are specifically maple themed. I think he just sent toys, but technically he just named our cat. So the cat's doing great. Aussie English says, hey, Phil, put my Made in Mexico maple neck on my first guitar, Squire Strat, because I used to need larger frets. It's taken the guitar resonance and sustain to level 1000, where previously it was dead. Why? I believe a neck is where a lot of the sustain comes from. This is one of those things that I hate to talk about on the internet in a discussion forum, because it's like everyone just wants to argue, and it's not about an argument. You can feel something, you can think a thing, and I can think a thing, and we can both be right. It can be that way, I promise. So, you're like, not you personally is giving this question, but people are like, oh, tone wood doesn't exist, and pickups don't matter. I think it all matters to some degree. I've learned certain things have an effect on things, and I've learned that some people don't really condition themselves to hear those things, and it's fine. They don't have to, right? As long as they're making music, if you found out tomorrow that Eddie Van Halen thought tone would matters and Prince didn't, would you go, well, then one of them is wrong? Wrong in the idea of their music being bad. And if you don't like one of those artists, pick your two poisons. But what I'm saying is, like, it doesn't matter. So in this case, for some reason, I have found that not only does a neck absolutely, not whether it's bolt-on or satin neck, just the neck, how thick it is, how well the frets are leveled, how well the strings can move and without any disruption, it can absolutely affect the sound. I did a video where I compare a maple neck to a rosewood neck on my Fenders, and I did the video more so for myself, but of course, it got some views, and that's, hey, can't hate that. And some people were like, oh, you should have swapped the necks on the guitars. I did. In fact, what I learned was no matter what I did, I wanted this rosewood neck Fender. I just thought it looked gorgeous. As you guys know, you're looking behind me, you can see a lot more rosewood and ebony than maple. I like the way the darker necks look. I wanted that neck to be great. I could not get that neck to sound good on anything. I moved it from body to body to body, and it just, wherever it went, it just sucked all the low in. There was no lows. There was no fullness. It just was bad for me, for what I was doing. So I absolutely think that I've done it, and I've done it the other way too. What you've had happen, I've had the opposite, where it's like I have a neck I like and I put it on a guitar and it won't work. But I believe a neck has a good deal to do with whether or not a guitar sustains really well. And again, not only because of how thick it is, also, like I said, how well it's the frets are done, and how sometimes the neck is really straight and it just has really great action, and it's just great. And I have necks that I love the guitar, but for some reason the neck never dials in correctly. So yeah, I say this as a veteran of fixing guitars for so many thousands of people. A guitar can only be as good as that guitar can be. You want it to be that a guitar tech or a luthier can make your guitar amazing. I believe in myself. I believe in myself, which means I believe I can make your guitar as good as it can be. But I cannot make it better than that. Whatever that guitar's best is, that's what I can get it to. I cannot get it better than its best. Maybe somebody else can, so they're better than me. But I believe even them, they cannot make a guitar better than it can be. So that's how it works. And I know this, I feel this to be true. I shouldn't say I know, no one knows. I feel this to be true because we've all experienced it. It's such a common thing. Very few guitar players with any kind of real expertise, whether that's professional playing expertise, professional collecting expertise, buying expertise, right? Look, just because you're not a fantastic guitar player doesn't mean you don't understand guitars. If you own 1,000 guitars, you're pretty damn informed, right? If I was asking a question to a mechanic, I would expect the mechanic to give me a very mechanic answer. But if I met a person who owned 40 different cars in their lifetime, I would imagine they have some really good experience. Even if they said, I'm a horrible driver. I'm like, okay, but horrible driver or not, does that seat comfortable? Right? Does it start every time you turn the ignition? I mean, those are things that you can give testimony to. So my point is that when it comes to a guitar, you've experienced what I've experienced many times over. You can move a neck on a guitar and all of a sudden, the guitar is magic. Those parts resonate together. They work together. Everything came together. It's really great. Sometimes it doesn't. I've had this experience so many times, and I've watched it to a maddening extent of watching musicians go mad trying to figure it out, because they kept bringing a guitar back and they took it to another tech and they did this and they tried this and a different pickup and this, and they just never can get it right. I'm like, sometimes, man, the guitar is just not going to do what you want it to do. It's going to be the best it can be, and that's whatever that is. So there you go. Okay. Next question, next subject. What do we got? We have Randy. Randy says, hey, Phil, currently have 24 guitars. My wife asked me how many I have, and I said 24. She said, can you stop at 25? Any suggestions for number 25? That did not go the way I thought it was going to go, Randy. I thought this was going to be like, and she said half to go. 25. I don't know, man. Whatever you want to buy. It sounds like you got carte blanche. Do whatever. Yeah. Like I said, everybody asks me how many guitars you should own. I think it's because they see I have a lot of guitars, and they say ask channels is here's what I learned from me. I think I should have as many guitars as I can physically fit in the area I have designated for them, and as much as my pocketbook can tolerate. And I'm still happy because what's the saying? Like, you can own your stuff or your stuff can own you. I'm not letting this stuff own me. So as long as I'm enjoying it, and as long as I'm not freaked out about it, and as long as I have room for it, I have what I have. So that's my cap. That's where my limit is. But I'm glad that you get one more guitar. That's nice. All right. Okay. Aussie English also has another one. It says, Phil, I got a mission for you. Please check out Aussie Band's Carnival. I'm imagining it's phonetically correct. It's Karnivol, like carnival, but it's carnival, I would imagine. But if I'm saying it wrong, I apologize. Like I said, that's what Hooked on Phonics. Hey, 12 cassettes, Hooked on Phonics. A Sounds Awake album, and the COG Sharing Space album, and report back in your 2 cents. I will check them out. Let's see. Mr. T. Dares, thank you for the super chat. Tim McDonald says, hey, Phil, a few weeks ago, Gibson came out with a quick connect pickups for their guitars that I have the green board pots. This would make a great how to do video. Your thoughts? Sure. I agree. I will check into that. Absolutely. The Panda wants to know if I'm excited about the PRS beer. If you guys didn't see, PRS is doing a beer, but I don't know really what that pertains. I thought it was local. Is it a local brewery? It kind of seemed like they were posting it, but then I kind of got that as a local brewery doing a beer. I don't know. I mean, Texas Toast had their own beer. Everybody has their own beer, I guess, right? You have your own beer. I don't know. Iron Maiden has great beer. We've did that. Remember we used to do during COVID, I was drinking a beer on the show. I learned this. I can't drink a beer and do this show. That's what I learned. That was excruciating for me. As much as I wanted to do it, remember the last show of the month, I go, let's drink a new beer or do an artist liquor or something. Here's what happened to me. I'm talking so much and I'm reading so much and I'm doing so much that I'm not drinking fast enough. And the drink gets warm really quick, especially during the summertime. And so then I'm drinking warm beer and I'm trying to get through it. And it's kind of gross drinking this warm stuff. And then also, if I drink it too fast, I can't, hey, I'm not drunk by any means off one beer, but let's just say my heightened sensitivity has dropped. So it didn't work. It's more of a casual thing, but it was an idea. So, but maybe we could get a PRS beer on the show. I would drink a PRS beer. Maybe PRS, if they see this, hey, PRS, send me a 4-pack of your beer or whatever, and I'll drink one on the show. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about your beer on the show. But we'll do it the last half. That's what I never thought about. Maybe I just do it the last part, like the last 30 minutes of the show or something. Willie wants to know, new guitar day, brand new Fender American Ultra Telly in Texas T. That's a great color. Thanks to the guys at Guitar Center in Macon, Georgia. I don't know. Macon, Macon, Georgia, for a smoking deal. That's awesome. Congratulations. Sorry, I'm messing up your city name, but it's Georgia. At least I got that right. Flash, the Flash says, why won't Fender make Blues Junior amp more durable? I.e. better capacitors, volume input, jack mounted to the board, solder breaks, easy bias voltage, cooks board, gladly pay more for them to do the work. I don't think that's the question. The question is, do they, not why don't they make it more durable? Do they have to make it more durable? I've told you guys this before. Look, I know it. I get it. There are, this is what's great. We learn on the internet, right? There are channels out there that are amazing that take apart amps and go through them and teach us about amps, right? I take about guitars and I teach about guitars and stuff like that. However, there are two things different than taking apart amps than guitars. When you take about guitars, what I'm doing is showing you guys how you can fix your guitar relatively easy with very practical tools at the house. Most things can be done very inexpensively, very easily. Amps, some things can be done, obviously changing your tubes, testing your tubes, things like that, but some things are a little harder. So when you watch this stuff, I will tell you this, and I've told you guys this before, Fender tracks, and at least as far as I know to this day still does, they track their repairs. Fender makes the product as good as they think they need it to make it to do what it needs to do. Now, if that sounds horrible, like I'm saying, hey, they put a 3-year warranty on an amp and they make sure it lasts 3 years and after that they don't care. That sounds horrible, but the truth is that's just the reality of their business model. Fender is not making boutique amps. They're not making expensive amps. They're making affordable priced amplifiers. The fact that they're expensive sucks, but they are, to me, the Blues Junior is a fraction of the price of a lot of high quality amps. In fact, what you're describing to me when you describe that version of the Blues Junior, I can name 5 amps right now that exactly what you're describing, they're $2,000. So you just go buy them. So that's the problem. You see what I'm saying? I'm not, by the way, I'm with you on this. I get it. Like, I would love a high-end Fender Blues Junior. Realistically, though, very few people are going to pay the price for that. Not because of any reason that once it's $2,000, you can just make it somewhere else. Some people say, well, they can make it for the price they're making it really high-end. Well, then do it. That's the whole point. Then you do it. They don't want to do it, right? They don't want to make hard to make stuff really cheap. They're barely able to do the cheap stuff really cheap. In my experience, hell, I would be happy if they just paid their employees more. I'd pay I'd pay more for the same crappy amps, just knowing that somebody can live I would say a decent life. That's not even true. If they gave their employees more money, they probably still probably at the very least could afford an apartment. But so I understand it's a slippery slope. But what I can tell you, let's give you some good news. Here's the good news. What you described, right? More durable, i.e. better capacitors, volume input jacks to a board, solder breaks, no solder break. There's great amps out there. I highly recommend you go out there and research the brands that are out there making great stuff that is hand wired, that you can check. You can check guitar amp repair channels who will highly recommend certain products over others, and try them. And then maybe that will be maybe that's what's great about like a show like this, because like I said, I don't pre-plan these answers. I'm just reacting to what you said. Maybe you have the answer that we didn't realize you just had, which is maybe you shouldn't buy a Fender amp anymore and buy somebody else. And then if enough of us don't buy the Fender amps, then Fender will change. Maybe that's how we enact the change, right? We vote with our pocketbooks and we vote a different way. I have not experienced in my travels this definitive, if an amp is built well, it lasts. Same thing with guitars. I've told you guys this before. I have never seen in my entire existence in this industry, I've not seen that if I spend $4,000 for a quality instrument, guitar, it is perfect. It is less likely to be defective, but I've still found defective instruments. I have an expensive amp right now. It just got shipped back. My wife just shipped it 2 days ago back to the manufacturer because it went defunct. It was an expensive amp. I'm just waiting because I'm thinking like, is everybody gonna freak out? Like, what amp? I'll tell you, my Tone King amp. It just took a dive. So they're fixing it. They're taking care of me, right, as they would, and I'll give you feedback on how that goes. What it's doing, I think the attenuator fried out. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happened in it, but my point is that amps fail, expensive amps fail, cheap amps fail. They all fail to some degree, and that's how I feel about guitars too. You can find a Squire that's perfect, and I can find a Paul Smith that's not. It's just not likely to be that way. Jigs Sun 69 says, my Mesa Boogie 35 has been back at Boogie for over a month. My Mesa Boogie 525 actually just took a shit because it sat too long. I let it sit. I cleaned it. I blew air out every once in a while, but for some reason it took a dive. But I was able to fix it myself through on forums, reading stuff and trying some stuff, and I was able to get it work. The same week, I'll think of this. In 1 week, I lost the Tone King amp in my Mesa Boogie 25, and I was like, oh my God, what is going on? In fact, I went downstairs and told my wife, I said, the Tone King amp took a crap. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah, so the attenuator's dropping out and everything's, and if I bypass the attenuator, the amp's fine. So I go, okay. So I take it aside, I send them an email, wait for the response. I grab the Mark 525, I put it on the cabinet, I start playing. It starts crapping out. I'm like, okay, what is going on? I started thinking, I'm like, I checked the speaker cables, I checked everything. It just happens, you know. If I sound nonchalant, I'm not nonchalant. I just don't have this expectation of things like you guys do, like some of you do. I kind of like look, I'm not here saying I'm happy about this. I'm not. But, you know. Here's what I can tell you, but I'm going to jinx it by saying this. My 65 Deluxe and my Fender Prince have never broke, ever. And I am so not nice to those amps. So, in fact, I think I told you this. My 65 Deluxe Reverb that I bought used has almost every single tube is a different brand. And I think the guy who sold it, you know, because he bought off Craigslist and traded it to me. I'm pretty sure whoever sold it, I don't even think the power tubes are matched. It is so weird, but it sounds great and it works, and I've left it alone. But I've been afraid to take it to a friend, like an amp tech, because I think he's going to tell me, like, dude, this is a mess. But it works, and I've now had it for, oh crap, 9 years, and I think it's 9 years old too. So, all right, that was fun. That was good. I like that subject. Maybe we'll talk about that more, Flash. That was a great subject, and I hope this subject doesn't mean your Blues Junior took a crap on you. But what's great about a Blues Junior is, man, you can pick them up for short money, good, used, and just work them to the death. You know, get another one. I know we don't like the whole buy a vacuum, throw a vacuum cleaner away thing, but I don't have better advice for you right now. Watch a lot of amp repair channels and maybe learn how to do it yourself. They are very insightful. Miserable Turd says, please give that guitar of the week to somebody in the podcast. He needs a guitar bad. Okay. I think it's Neck. Okay. You know what? Maybe I'll give him something else. It's SNEK. Let's do this. SNEK. I'm sometimes, you know, when we type, not all the letters get in there. Maybe it's somebody else. Is it Steve? I don't know. All right. Luke says, hey, Phil, would love for you to check out Dunable Guitar. They have a beautiful USA-made offerings and impressive Korean import line. Cheers. Yeah, Nathan talks about them pretty on the regular. He likes the Dunable stuff, and he's talked about it. I never heard of them until Nathan brought it up, and they're in California. Maybe getting one on the channel to do a review would be pretty cool. I need to do that stuff. I tell you guys, I don't reach out to companies. It's very rare that I reach out or we reach out to a company. We usually just wait for a company to kind of approach us. But maybe I'll reach out to a couple companies. I forgot to tell you guys that Sir Guitars had reached out to me a while back and asked about maybe doing a deep dive or something like that, and I forgot. So I want to apologize to the Sir guys and to you guys. We'll reach out to them and see if we can get a guitar on the channel for a deep dive. But you know, sometimes what happens is I get an email from them. They just wanted to let me know they love the podcast and they'd love to, you know, that if I'm interested in having a guitar on the channel, they'd like to do it. So I will reach out to them. Clan. I don't know why Clan. I do this every time. Clan of House Cats. Michael Romeo. Damn it. Of Symphony X uses an X2N also. Yes, he's an amazing guitar player. Symphony X is awesome. Yes. I didn't know he used an X2N. I say yes, like I acknowledge what you're saying, but I had no idea that's what he used. The X2N is an interesting pickup. I like having one in that guitar. I don't think I'd put it in any other of my guitars. I kind of think the Super Distortion is the way to go when it comes to that stuff. But you know, I like having the X2N because it does do something really cool. It's just out there different. It really, it's an 80s throttle machine. Unplayed Video Games says, hey, Phil, have you seen Somnium's latest body style, the Impulse? I think it's pretty cool. I did see the newest body because it's thinner, right? Is what they sent me a thing. It's thinner and it's got a different shape to it. If it's doing great for them, I love it. I mean, I love that you love it, and I love it if they're doing well. I purposely think Somnium's system is so good, but I think when I had them make the telly or do the telly for me, which is, I think a lot of players will really appreciate more of a traditional design with that system because that system is so unique and interesting. But I like the idea of that guitar. I think they talked to me. I don't think they talked about sending one out. I don't think that we went that way with it. But I think The idea of it's cool, but what I like about having the Tele style one is that when I'm doing videos with it, players aren't distracted by the guitar being different. They're just really focused on the pickups. So for a review purpose, I like the Tele one. Plus, I like that Tele. It's a good Tele body and stuff. But I haven't checked it out. I'll have to check it out. I know I've seen it because I think they debuted it at the Summer NAMM a couple years ago, 2022 or 2023. I thought they did the Summer NAMM because I think that's what they asked. I think they asked me if I saw it. I know that my modules don't fit in it because they're too thick because they thin the modules and they thin the guitar. So it wouldn't do me any good. I spent a lot of money on all those modules. So I have a lot of modules. I don't know if I'd want to redo anything at this point. Okay. All right. Let's scoop up a couple of the questions Amanda sent to me. Thank you, Amanda, for always being on this. Okay. Okay, so Mr. T. Dares, who did a super chat, basically didn't get his question in because sometimes I guess it happens. So he's got the question. He says, all things being equal, does the brand of potentiometers change the sound of at all in your pickups comparing the 500K to 500K, etc.? The short answer, long answer, it's the only way I can give it to you, buddy. I'm sorry. Short answer is yes, it does change it. Long answer is not very much, and it could be so minute that it won't matter to most players. Everything matters for sure. I mean, you can change things, and you can physically hear a difference. If I change out a Borns potentiometer to a CTS brand, or whatever brand, to an Alpha Pot, switch things out. A lot of it has to do with not so much the brand, but the, what do you call it? The, oh my God, what am I spacing here? I want to say compliance. That's not the word. What's the word I'm looking for? Basically, their tolerance. I'm sorry, the tolerance. For instance, you're not going to find a 500K potentiometer that reads 500K. Most of them are going to be like 450. Guys like Lawrence Petros who test these things unsufferably, right? Because he's trying to make a consistency in his product, right? This is why I talk about all the time. Consistency is the killer. It's the thing that if you make a lot, like my joke is everybody can make one guitar. Everybody can make one pedal. Try to make 500 guitars that are the same. Try to make 500 pedals the same. It's very difficult once you start. Same thing with pickups. Trying to make 500 pickups is why I have trouble making pickups. I want them all to be the exact same pickup. It's very difficult to get it exactly the same. It would be really cool if I had computerized machines to do it. And even then it would be a little problematic. But my point is, yes, the tolerances are going to change. Not only from brand to brand, but just from potentiometer to potentiometer. Should you worry about it? Absolutely not. To me, potentiometer, when it comes to quality of a potentiometer, the two things I'm focused on for a guitar. Now, again, amp manufacturer, pedal manufacturer, Lawrence might have a different opinion about something like this, or Josh Scott might have a major difference between what I'm saying. But for me, it's about the feel. In other words, how it travels, how it physically feels when I'm playing the guitar, and how long it lasts. Those are two of the things that I'm going to put most of my energy into worrying about. So when I buy a brand or if I buy a potentiometer, it's based on how long I think it'll last and how it feels when I turn it. This guitar, this Danescoop that I showed you guys, what I didn't tell you was I had switched the potentiometers in this to the Yngwie Malmsteen Seymour Duncan ones. Now, why? You're asking yourself, why Yngwie Malmsteen? Because I bought some and no one would buy them from me. They were in my shop and years go by and no one would buy them. So I put them in this guitar because I was like, well, why use the ones everybody's buying? I'll use the ones no one's buying and then I can sell the ones people buy. These have like literally no friction. They are, I hate them. They are zero friction, low friction potentiometers by Seymour Duncan. Yngwie, of course, if you're Yngwie and you put your pinky on the thing and you make your guitar sound like a violin, I'm sure they're amazing. To me, being a knucklehead average guitar player, I bump them constantly, and they're constantly rolling back a little bit to the point where I had to tighten down the knobs and put a little piece of foam in there to stop them from doing that a little bit. So it's a feel, but they last. They're good, right? Like I said, I noticed I said it was scratchy from sitting, but it was the switch, not the potentiometers. They were good. So that's what I would focus on if you're talking about guitars. Somebody said speed knob. Speed knob? I don't think that's what these were called. I think low friction, according to their packaging. If you're interested in what it was, it's the YJM Seymour Duncan low friction potentiometers. So, and they come in 500K or 250K. These are 500s. Okay, Bill says, JHS Josh Scott said more components. Inconsistencies have less effect on overall sound, less components. Each deviant component will have a larger effect on the sound or something like that. So, like I said, everyone's going to have a different, based on how they use and what they use the stuff. Like I said, in my experience, all I care is that they last and you like the way they feel when you turn them. That's the biggest part for me. That's what I'm focused on. And that's what I've had, as I bump the desk, that's what I've had great success with doing people's guitars, is focusing on those. And then the rest is just, like I said, you can make yourself crazy thinking about all this stuff. It's and not that that's wrong, but Arthur says the EVH frictionless are awesome. I have some of those too. You know what I like about EVH? He has both. He has the low friction ones, and then he has the high friction one. When we sold the very first EVH guitars, I was one of the very first EVH dealers in the country. That's why I was able to go to the EVH parties. I went to both parties and met Eddie both times. It was really nice. The original ones had two 0 low friction potentiometers for volume and tone, but very shortly after that, they put a heavy friction on the tone. I don't know. I think it's because when he was touring with them, I think he doesn't mind rolling his volume up, but I think sometimes, if it's so easy to bump the tone knob and roll it back a little bit. So I think he wanted the heavier friction, so it stays. There's an article with him somewhere, and maybe you guys can, find that and find out if that's what he said. But that's what I noticed because playing them, and then they changed it. Like I said, I like those potentiometers. Me, personally, I like it to have a little bit of resistance because I don't want to bump it. But, yeah, Tony G says, I need a little resistance. Me too. I don't want it to feel over the top. But I'm different when it comes to pedals. On pedals, I want the resistance to be really bad because I want to set the pedal, and I can. It's not even about sound; it's about paranoia. For me, I can plug in a pedal, play it, and the next day plug in a pedal and go, it sounds different. And I look at the knobs and I go, is that where I had it set? And then the paranoia kicks in, like it sounds wrong. And I go, or does it sound wrong? Do I just hear it differently? So I like knowing that it's hard to move the knobs. Okay, let's button up this show so you guys can do cool things for this weekend. I don't know what you're going to do, but cool stuff, I'm sure. Let's do, Josh says, hey, I finally made a live show. Congratulations. Thank you for joining us live. It was a little hard when I lived in Japan. I would imagine that's a time zone change. Says, I love the show. Thanks for all the time and information you give. Your videos inspired me to hand make a Les Paul in my backyard. That's awesome. It was cool, but then when you said backyard, I'm like, oh, that's even cooler. That's cool. I think anytime you do anything, make a pedal, make a guitar, make an amp, fix a guitar, fix an amp, fix a pedal, anytime you do something like that, I think there's this feeling that you get. You just can't buy that feeling. It doesn't exist anywhere else. I'm going to end on, I'm going to do the last question, but I'm going to end on a funny story that involves repairing. Okay. Although I'm a repair person and I'm inclined to do a lot of stuff. My wife said that the rubber piece on the bottom of the garage was worn out. And I said, oh, okay. And I said, we'll call the garage guy and have it replaced. So she calls the garage guy. Now I know what you're thinking. Phil, do it yourself. Me, man, I got other stuff to do. Okay. So I'm like, let's just call the garage guy. She comes back, she goes, well, he says the piece is $150. Maybe it was $145, but close enough. He goes, and unless it needs a new aluminum rail. And and the aluminum rail is $150, and it's $150 to install it, but he won't know until he comes out and looks at it. And to me, like 540 is too close to 50, right? Like that's 500. Our 540 is too close to that's $500. I go, $500? She's like, yeah. And I go, are you kidding me? She's like, no. And I'm like, look, I'm all for paying somebody for their time. I know you got to drive out. I know his time's more than just the time he's here, but I'm like, this just seems crazy to me. So guess what I did? I did what you guys did. That's how you ended up here. That's why I love you guys. You know, that's what I love about this YouTube world. I went on YouTube and some guy who looked like me, but maybe a little fatter even, which is weird. He's like, hey man, just buy this part on Amazon and put it on. It was $26. I bought the thing for $26. And then of course I had to buy some silicone lube, and it took three of us. It took my son and my wife and me to do it, because you have to stretch, but we did it. $26. And whatever I probably bought my son for lunch. $26. And I'm like, and I told her, I said, you know what's funny is, I go, it's not that I don't want to help the economy. It's not that I don't want to pay this guy his time. Not, Brian's $500 for a garage opener? No, for a piece of rubber. I don't know what you call it. It's the rubber on the bottom of your garage door, so you seal it so rain doesn't get in, so water doesn't get in. I want to say gasket, but I don't think it's a gasket. I don't know what you call it. Anyways, and in my brain, I'm just like, yeah, that's how I feel. That's why I started making videos too. Like that guy helped me. I hope you guys feel 10%. 10% to me, how I feel towards that guy for saving me and my family $425. Amazing. Thank you. And the pride of doing it ourselves. My wife and I were like, this is crazy, but man, cool. All right. Amanda says there's still super chats. I know, Amanda. I'm on it. Thanks for... Okay, let's button up the show. I'm refreshing my screen real quick. Hopefully. Oh, no. Okay, there it is. I was going to say, sometimes you refresh it and it goes away. All right, no more super chats. I'm going to bust out these questions and subjects. And then Mr. Cybermax with 2 X's says, Phil, my new PRS SE245 sounds like a banjo. Is it the nut? I would say banjo is, I'm going to say you're having, yes. Well, 2 things. It could be because the action is just really low and it's just, okay, 3 things. 3 things could be causing a banjo sound. Now remember, I'm not looking at your guitar, I'm not listening to your guitar, I'm doing a guessing. I'm just gonna give you 3 things to start to look at. First, make sure that the pickups are not too close to the guitar or not too close to the strings or touching the strings. That would cause that kind of effect. Mostly touching would be the biggest issue, but definitely being close could cause a slight sitar banjo effect. The next thing you want to do is make sure the action is good and that it's not too low. That would also, because they're kind of plinking off the frets. Then the nut. That is the order in which I would check those things. So remember I was telling you guys, and I tell you guys over and over again, diagnostics is the most important part of repair. The point of diagnostic is to start with the easiest problem and then move to the most difficult one. So don't jump right to the biggest problem, which is going to be the nut. Jump to the easiest problem, which is going to be the pickup height adjustments. Make sure those are right. Then make sure that the neck adjustment relief is correct and that the strings are getting enough distance off the frets, and then go to the nut. And then that's how you'll solve the problem. It will probably be one of those 3 things in that order. Rummy says... like mummy, but with an R. Phil, what would the benefits be of adding a string tree to a Fender American Deluxe Tele? Will it help tuning stability for D and G string, eliminate ringing? Yes. So some players do not like the string trees. It's just a thing. I've dealt with it for many years with players. They are, for whatever reason, they're just like, they hate the way they look. They hate the way they sound. They hate the fact that they think that causes the guitar to go out of tune, especially with tremolo style guitars. Me personally, that's great when string trees were a bent piece of metal. Now string trees are made of all kinds of materials, and you can get string trees with rollers, wheels. You can get string trees that are graphite. You can get string trees that are corian, which is going to be tusk with a Q. It's like a corian material. And you can put a string tree on something and not have any tuning stability issues, but have a little bit more no instability in tuning, I should say. And you don't have to listen to that ringing, which I obviously don't like. So your options are simple. Yes, you can add a string tree, or you can put a piece of foam back there, or a fret wrap is what they call them. So Google fret wrap. If you don't mind, a little padded Velcro thing around the headstock. I mean, people add those, or like I said, piece of foam underneath the strings, between the strings of the headstock and the strings, or go with the string tree for the D&G. All of those work. Also, keep in mind there's a 3-string tree, so you can do DG. You can do 3 strings at a time if you want to do instead of 2 and 4. Okay. Warham 5 says, is the reverb on the DGT 15 true analog like a spring? Yes. It's a spring reverb. Yeah. Notice I'm like, well, it's a tube. Hold on. Let's put some, hold on. Yeah. All right. So you can hear me walking, grabbing it. I hit it. Yep, that's a spring tank. There's a spring tank in there. It's sideways, which probably so it doesn't affect the noise and transformers. I knew that the reverb has a tube assigned to it. I now see the spring reverb. I can hear it. So yes, it is a true analog spring reverb. My understanding was, I did not know for sure. I told you guys this. They got me that amp on Friday. I had to have the video out by Tuesday. Okay. Sounds like a lot of time. It's not to do a video. So especially when a new product without not a lot of research, they give you a little press packet on it and stuff. So I wasn't 100% sure about the tremolo, but I guess since I've learned the tremolo is also analog as well. So yes, true analog spring reverb, analog tremolo. That helps. I figured instead of guessing and Googling it and looking at, I got it physically here. Why not look it up? And if you, just in case you're curious, still love the amp, loving it. We'll continue to use it. You'll see it on many more Guitar of the Weeks. Okay. Hold on. Just want to make sure. Okay. I'm just looking through what Amanda sent me to make sure I didn't forget anything. I think I got it all. Okay. So thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Brian, for putting links. Thank you for I'm Not Old, I'm Vintage. Thank you for all the moderators. I didn't see Unfreaking Believable, but he's here. I want to thank him too. Grabbing my guitar. I want to thank all of you guys. If I missed a moderator, I apologize. I'm scrolling through real fast. But I want to thank everybody for hanging out this Friday. You guys make this show what it is. It's literally a show about you guys. It's kind of funny. It's just whoever shows up or sends questions. You can send questions as well. I want to thank everybody. Remind everybody that there's a belated Happy Father's Day sale. If you guys want to check any of that stuff out, I will see you guys soon. I have a cool video. I always say that, right? I have a cool video coming. This video is more about me than anything else. I have a pickup video coming out. It will probably be the next or the following. There's a Gibson video coming out. But the pickup video is cool. So you guys lasted to the end of the show, whether you're live or watching the recorded. Why it's cool. There's going to be another cool Phil McKnight guitar coming possibly in the future. And these pickups are a big part of that. So I'm going to be sharing those with you. So I'm excited about that. It's like a sneak peek. And you guys will know it's a sneak peek where most people won't know what they're watching is a sneak peek to something. So I don't know. I'll give you a little tidbit of that. Thank you, everyone who sent questions and subjects. Thank you guys for being part of the show. As always, thank you all for your time. Till the next time, know your gear.
Today's episode of the Know Your Gear podcast is brought to you by Patreon members, channel members, and viewers who like and subscribe. Thank you for making this possible. The Know Your Gear podcast.